Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of New Review. Today I'm doing a review of an album that I've already gotten requests to do, and that is the new Gary Numan album, Intruder. Um, yeah, I honestly forget what number album this is by him. It's at least his 25th, I would guess. I'll have the correct number in the description of the video. Um, right now I'm holding in my hands the vinyl version. It's the standard black vinyl, not any of the color vinyl options. Comes in a gatefold design. There he is trying to look as creepy as he can. Spooky stuff. Him on the back, also looking incredibly spooky. Wow, oh my gosh, he's terrifying. Also on the inside, you've got the sleeves for the records, where he's half spooky here, and then the other half he's spooky right there. Oh my gosh, wow, so spooky, so absolutely terrifying. Okay, so here's the thing. Before this album was even announced, I wanted to do a video talking about Gary Numan and how I feel about him currently. It was going to be called We Need to Talk About Gary Numan. And then the new album, Intruder, was announced. I forget if I mentioned that that's the name of it earlier. It's called Intruder. Um, and then the new album was announced, so I figured I would hold that video off. That was actually going to be my initial sort of like return video before I did the Vinyl Tag 2021 challenge. So then Intruder got announced. I decided to put that video on the back burner and maybe not even make it, depending on the direction of this new album. And then the title track was dropped as the first single, and I realized that my issues with Gary Numan's current music were the exact same that they had been, which I'm going to get to. And in case you can't tell by my tone of voice going forward, this is not going to be an overwhelmingly positive review of the new album. If you want that, you can go to Von George's YouTube channel. Lord forbid that he say anything bad about any of the artists that he interviews or has a relationship with. Oh well. So the first single dropped. I was very hesitantly pessimistic about the new album. The second single dropped. I was even more pessimistic. Third single dropped. More pessimistic. Fourth single dropped. Actually liked the last single. Unfortunately, off the top of my head, I can't tell you what it was called. It was Now and Forever. Yeah, that one's actually one of the better songs on here. And so now here we have it, the new Gary Numan album. Also, I am going to touch upon the bonus tracks that are included because they are on both the vinyl release as well as the digital version that is up on any streaming platforms. So in case you are wondering about those two bonus tracks, I'm going to touch upon them. This isn't going to be like past reviews of Gary Numan's albums. I'm not going to go through song by song like I used to, for two reasons. First of all, time constraints. If you're watching this, you already know what these songs sound like. And the second reason being that almost all of these songs sound the exact same, which is one of my biggest issues with this album. I had messaged a friend who is also a Gary Numan fan about his current music, and I chalked up nearly every new song to atmospheric intro, followed by discordant beep boop sounds, followed by him trying to sound creepy, followed by a crunchy guitar sound, followed by a big chorus, an eerie synth wash, more of him trying to be creepy, another big chorus, another synth wash, some spoken word sounding bit about how God is bad, a big chorus again, usually sung twice, and then a very abrupt end. And honestly, that can be chalked up to about, I'd say, 3/4 of the songs on this album. Uh, I'm gonna be getting heated as this video goes on, probably, because it's such a frustrating album for me, and people are already calling it a masterpiece and one of his best albums. And I feel like Mugatu in Zoolander, when he says, I feel like I've taken some crazy pills, because I don't know what these people are hearing, but it's obviously not the same album that I'm hearing. Now, if you are a recent Gary Numan fan, meaning that, maybe you're just getting into his music, you've only heard his last few albums, this record probably sounds good to your ears. But the reason why is because you may not know, but he is just recycling the exact same style and the exact same lyrical tropes that he's been doing really since 1994 with Sacrifice. But at least on that album and Exile and Pure, I would say, up through and including the Splinter album, he was doing it in a way that at least still sounded fresh and interesting, and he was adding or taking away elements to his sonic palette through each album, from Sacrifice through Splinter. And then there was Savage, which to me just sounded like a filtered down, weaker version of Splinter. And now we have this, which is just a more watered down, weaker version of Savage. I've listened to this album already 7 or 8 times, and I cannot tell you what any of the songs, outside a few of them, sound like when I think back to them, which is a very frustrating thing. And it was like that with almost all of the singles, at least the second and third ones. The Intruder song itself is memorable. Now and Forever is memorable. The other two that were in the middle, I Am Screaming and Saints and Liars, I couldn't tell you what they sounded like a few minutes after they were over, and I still can't outside of a few moments. And it's frustrating because I know that Gary is capable of creating great music, because even on the last album, there was still Bed of Thorns, there was still My Name is Ruin. But on this, outside of maybe Now and Forever and The Chosen, I cannot see myself coming back to any of these songs. I might whenever he tours next, so that I can at least hopefully remember what songs it is that I'm seeing him play in front of me, but it's all just atmospheric, mid-tempo, him trying to be creepy and hating on God again music. And I kind of wanted to touch upon his hatred of God so much. I'm an atheist myself, just like Gary Numan. But it's gotten to the point where, I'm also a vegan, just like Morrissey. And whenever Morrissey opens his mouth, it's just like, shut the fuck up, Morrissey. And whenever Gary Numan now sings about how bad God is, it's just like, shut the fuck up, Gary. And really, something that I thought about is, why dedicate so much of your time and so many of your songs writing about something that you declare that you don't believe in? I don't believe in Santa Claus. I'm not writing songs about how much I hate Santa Claus. And also, how can you say that you don't believe in God when on a song like A Prayer for the Unborn, you blame God for your wife's miscarriage? You can't have both. You have to either believe in him and blame him, or don't believe in him and put the blame on something else, something that is tangible, something that, according to you, is a real thing. And you might be thinking, oh, Tyler, you're just going on this rant. I'm sure Gary doesn't sing about how much he hates God that much. But that's where you're wrong. Before this album came out, I was talking to my best friend, who really only knows Gary from the Replicas, Pleasure Principle, and Telecon albums. They haven't really ventured into his discography beyond that. And I basically told them, any and every Gary Numan song now is going to mention one of these things. Either he is bleeding, he is torn, there is something in the dark or the shadows, and he hates God. And I actually counted up all of the songs on this album that mention all of those things. So here we go. Only one song this time around mentions bleeding. 3 songs out of the... I only counted 11. I didn't count the 2 versions of The End of Dragons, because that wouldn't make sense. 3 songs mention being torn. 5 songs mention the dark and or shadows. Another 5 songs mention God is bad. And a whopping 7 out of 11 songs mention screaming in some way. I want to say either the first 4 or 5 songs all mention screaming. And in case you don't know, this is a concept album, just like Savage was supposedly a concept album. But, like, I don't think Gary Numan ever got the memo about what a concept album is. I mean, not counting the Replicas album, because to me, a concept album is one where you can listen to it, and once it's over, you can have some idea of what that concept is. Savage was supposed to be a concept album about, global warming has happened, the world is now a giant desert, and people get along until the Bible is introduced, because God is bad. But if you don't know that, and you listen to Savage, you're not going to have any inkling of that idea. And the exact same thing is here for Intruder. The album Intruder is supposed to be... It's like if Mother Earth were writing songs to us about how the planet feels about our existence. Our existence meaning humans' existence. And another one of my very close friends yesterday listened to this album. And at the end of it, I told them, I'm going to blow your mind. This is a concept album. Can you guess what the concept is? They had absolutely no idea. And I told them, and they just didn't see that. And I think that part of the reason why is because if you completely do not know that this is a concept album, this is the exact same thing that Gary has been writing about for the last almost 30 years. Like, cool, it's a concept album about, the planet Earth talking to us. Well, it's really convenient that the planet Earth hates God just as much as Gary Numan does, and talks about things in the shadows just as much as Gary Numan does. It's honestly, it's to the point of self-parody now. And I saw somebody online, well, I had mentioned that to me, it's the exact same sound, the exact same production as on the last few albums, which in it of itself, the production itself is not bad. This is a well-produced album. From a sonic perspective, it is a quote-unquote good sounding album. But the issue is that the production has not changed over the last 3 albums. Splinter was 2013. That's almost 10 years ago now. And this person was saying that, oh, well, because it sounds like the last 2 albums, it's great. This is genius. To which my counter argument is, how can you be happy with a musician who hasn't developed musically over the last few albums? It's almost like his mid-80s period all over again. Like, he's got the record company at that time telling him, you have to make the album sound this way. So he continues to add in female backing vocalists and saxophone solos and, songs telling you what this is. This is new love. This is emotion, whatever. And now it's like his fervent fanatics are just fueling him to continue writing the exact same stuff he's been writing for almost 30 years now. And I would still, I've been ranting almost 15 minutes now, but I would still consider myself a Gary Numan fan. And the reason for that is because, first of all, I may not like this album, but I've always got The Pleasure Principle to listen to, or Berserker, or Replicas, or Telecon, or Sacrifice, or Dead Sun Rising, whatever. And I know that he is capable of greatness. He's exhibited that on the last 5 or 6 albums pretty, you know, anywhere from incredibly regularly to somewhat regularly on Savage. Um, so yeah, I would still consider myself a Gary Numan fan. And if you're watching this and listening to my complaints about this album and wondering how I can still be a fan, it's because like he has still made music that has impacted my life positively. I still remember listening to The Pleasure Principle for the very first time, and that changing, completely changing my trajectory of the music that I was then interested in going forward. And it's a shame to have that talent wasted here. It says in the liner notes that I think Tim Slade. I may be forgetting the name right now. Tim Slade plays bass on some songs. Steve Harris plays guitar on some songs, but honestly, I don't hear it. And I I think, again, who am I, except just a Gary Numan fan. I think that the best thing that he could do would be to get in the studio with his live band and record that way and work with somebody besides Ade Fenton. After Splinter came out, and it seemed like him and Ade had this falling out, I was very excited about his music going forward because then what that meant was the sound would be uncertain. You wouldn't know exactly what his next material would sound like because he was going to be working with an entirely new producer. And it's a shame that really what his new sound is because it's more because of Ade Fenton than it is because of Gary Numan. Um, I mean, really, at this point, it's just him mumbling about creepy stuff over the Inception noise. The only song on here where when I listened to it, even on the first time through, and it immediately caught my ear was The Chosen, and that's because it actually sounds like it has a live bass on it. But of course, it's one of the songs that doesn't. At least I think I've got that name right. Yeah, The Chosen. Um, I think that The Chosen is really good. I think that A Black Sun is pretty good. And when I was listening to it the first time, I was like, holy shit, he's not singing about any of these lyrical tropes that he's fallen into. Only to find out that it was written by one of his daughters. So, of course. And I do like the end of Dragons. I'm very glad that he doesn't sing those words at any point during that song. Um, but the something else I noticed, one particular thing, going back a little bit to the point about self-parody, is on the song I Am Screaming, that piano melody that opens it. Those exact same notes are played using a different sound during the chorus of A Black Sun. And I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but at least to my ears, they are the exact same, if not very close to the exact same notes, played in the exact same uh, manner and melody. Um, God, yeah, I really was hoping that this would be a more positive review. But as it stands, I mean, I don't see myself returning to this album probably maybe ever again unless it is to listen to songs because I'm planning on seeing him live, or if maybe for whatever reason I'm doing another retrospective listen through of his music, or maybe trying to give it another chance before the end of the year. But honestly, as it stands, I think that this is his worst album since Machine and Soul. And I mentioned that somewhere online, and I got a bunch of laugh reacts, and it's like, okay, if this isn't his worst album since Machine and Soul, what is? And if you say that all the ones after Machine and Soul are great, that's fine, but you have to point out which one of them is the least great, and that is my problem with a lot of Gary Numan fans, is that they, for whatever reason, cannot criticize anything that this guy does. And I feel like a lot of the Gary Numan fans turn me off of Gary Numan's music more than Gary Numan himself does. Because I think that if you go back to that video I posted about a month and a half, 2 months ago now, about fans versus fanatics, almost every Gary Numan fan I've encountered online falls into the fanatic category. And I think that as a fan, again, it should be your job to criticize the output by artists that you admire. Because otherwise you are not a fan, you're just a blind fanatic. Oh, gosh, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about this album that I have to talk about. Oh yeah, okay, because it's tradition, 3 favorite songs and 3 least favorite songs. My 3 favorite songs, I already mentioned them. It's going to be The Chosen, Now and Forever, and let's say The End of Dragons. Yeah, I really like the vocal melody on that one. I actually think that it's a good closing song. I just wish that, like a lot of the songs on here, it didn't end so abruptly. Um, as far as least favorite songs, oh boy. See, and that's the thing, is that I'm looking at the track list here, and I can't even remember what half of these songs sound like, which is a shame. It shouldn't be like that. But the ones I do remember, I Am Screaming. I do not like it. Um, God, When You Fall is so bad. Honestly, that might be the worst song on here. And I'm glad that it's a quote-unquote bonus track and it's not included in the standard track listing. Um, yeah, gosh. Okay, so I Am Screaming, When You Fall, and maybe, man, I don't know, maybe The Gift. No, Saints and Liars. Saints and Liars. Um, yeah, gosh. And, I've gotten people still asking me about my opinion of Savage and if that has changed, and uh, I it's changed in the sense that I like Savage less now, and I see my opinion of this album probably deteriorating over time as well. Uh, if I could give it a numerical score, man, so many of you guys are gonna get mad at me for this, and I'm at the point I don't care, really. Um, See, and here's the thing, and this is why I have to say this before I give it the numerical score. I was like, maybe give it a 6, but I was like, no, because that's what I would give Savage now, and I like this less than Savage. And I was like, well, what about a 5? But that's the thing, is that a 5 out of 10 indicates, a 50-50 thing, and I can't even tell you 50% of these songs. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. And I'm sorry for any and all of you, Gary Numan faithful out there, but that's my opinion, and I hope that I've been able to make my point clear enough. I hope that you stuck around long enough to hear my point instead of just knee-jerk reacting, giving this video a dislike and an angry comment. And if you do really enjoy this album, I would really like to know why, and please say something besides "it's epic." I don't care. If that's the only reason why you like this album, go listen to The Prodigy. The Prodigy was making epic sounding music, and it was infinitely better than this is. Um, it's a really frustrating album, and I really don't want to dislike it as much as I do, but I can't not, with all of the baggage included into this album going into it that's there, and what it is and what it sounds like and what the lyrics are. And yeah, Gary Numan's voice, his voice sounds great on this song. but it's the exact same thing we've heard over and over and over again. And at least then it was done in a more interesting way. It's like this album is just full of worse versions of Love Hurt Bleed from Splinter, and that was like the worst song on that album. And this is just diluted versions of that. Ah! I did not expect to be getting this frustrated making this video. I apologize. I'm very heated. This is probably the most frustrated anyone is going to see me throughout the course of this channel. I didn't even get this frustrated when I was talking about Outland or Strange Charm or, you know, whatever, any of the late 80s, early 90s stuff, because that stuff was already there. I didn't have to wait years for that to come out and be disappointed by it. But that's what I had to do this time, and it sucks. But, man, I can't really think of anything else. You just... If you like it, that's great. Just tell me why you like it, and don't just say it's epic, because that's a lazy reasoning to like something. I really want to try to have a conversation with people about this album, and I really hope that, you know, the comments on here can stay civil. If they don't, then I don't know. I'll probably just, I don't know. Whatever, man. I don't care. You guys already chewed me up enough after the Savage review. I got nothing left to lose after this one. So, yeah, that's my review of Intruder, the new Gary Numan album. Yay. Gary Numan. Look at his face right there. Oh, he's so creepy. He's so spooky. I was actually debating putting streaks of ketchup on my face before I did this video in that look, but I figured it would be a mess, and I didn't want to get ketchup on this shirt. Fitting. Oh, I should have done it on his face on the shirt. That would have been funny. Oh well. So anyways, yeah, that's my review of Intruder by Gary Numan. 4 out of 10. I might listen to it again sometime down the road. Definitely not today. Today I'm probably just going to be listening to a lot of, like, I don't know, John Carpenter and The Soft Moon. So anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. If this video hasn't deterred you from my channel, please feel free to click the subscribe button. Maybe leave it a thumbs up, whether you like this video or not. That's kind of all I've got to say. So, I'm Tyler King. This is New Review, and keep listening to great music. I will see you next time.